The Indianapolis Colts got some difficult news just yesterday, and that's okay. And I'm going to tell you why it's okay in this video. And we're going to talk about why Chris Ballard has set this team up for success despite one of their veteran linemen going down with an apparent Achilles injury, all right, and a non-contact injury. So let's talk about exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to talk about their defensive end, Samson Ebukam. And no, I can't say it. I'm going to try to, but I can't. But I know how to say Laiatu Latu, and we're going to be talking about him, all right, and other people. But here's the deal. There is no other team I can think of that is insulated better for an injury than this. But first, let's talk about Samson, what he has been dealing with, and what this is looking like. All right. He suffered season-ending Achilles injury. He tore it again on a non-contact injury. It usually is that way, but it doesn't matter. When you tear an Achilles, you tear an Achilles. Here's the good news, short-term and long-term. Short-term, they have great depth. Long-term, Achilles injuries are not what they used to be. It is not a death sentence, all right? Now, is it good? No, especially on the defensive line. Not good. You don't see a ton of defensive linemen coming back. We're seeing running backs come back. We're seeing wide receivers come back. We're seeing DBs come back. Defensive linemen, not as much of a clip, but it's not the death sentence that it used to be. He is 29 years old, and he is coming off of arguably his best season of his career. In his first year in Indy, he registered career highs of 9.5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and 17 QB hits. He also tied a career high with 3 forced fumbles. The other thing he did was he had the second most snaps on the team. The second most snaps on the team. All right, behind only DeForest Buckner's. I think he had even more. All right, let's just put it that way. All right, so let's talk about this. All right, let's talk about what we are looking at now in order to fill this out. And we're going to go in deeper on a couple of these players. We're just going to go in deeper on a couple of these players. But first, let's look at the depth chart. All right, here you have him plugged in as a starter. All right, here's the deal. Him and Kwity Paye are the starters on this team. They are. They are the starters, and it's nice to be able to rotate defensive ends. It's even nicer to be able to rotate defensive tackles, but it's nice to be able to keep your linemen fresh. And one of the greatest assets to have on a football team is depth on the defensive line. Because unlike the offensive line, defensive linemen get really, really tired because they're consistently fighting. The offensive linemen know where they're going. The defensive linemen have to read, react, and then fight through a 330-pound man. That's the way that works on the defensive line. So that's why you don't see defensive linemen getting 1,000 snaps like you see offensive linemen routinely going over 1,000 snaps. Secondary, routinely going over 1,000 snaps. Defensive linemen, you'll kill them. You will kill them. There are only a handful of players in the NFL that are defensive linemen that play them more than 80% of the snaps. Only a handful. And, you know, they all seem to be crazy defensive edge guys like Max Crosby, Aiden Hutchinson, stuff like that. All right, so he wasn't going to be that anyway, but here's what's the great news. You have Kwity Paye and Samson on your starting lineup, but you have Latu and Dio, all right, as your backups. Are you kidding me? How many teams in the NFL would be happy with this 1-2 combination as their starting defensive edge? Their 2 defensive ends. You throw in Kwity Paye, and then you're going to give more opportunity to Tyquan Lewis, all right, who's been around for a minute. And it's like, all right, that's where you lose. I don't think you lose a lot going from Ebukam over to Eddie Ingbo, all right, to Dio, to Latu. All right, I don't think you lose a lot. I know that sounds absolutely terrible, all right, but Samson had by far his best year last year. When you look at PFF, his defensive pass grade was 15 higher than any other season. And it's not like he was playing for bad coaches. He was in LA first 4 years. He was in San Francisco for the last 2. San Francisco's defense is kind of known for putting players in positions to have success. All right, so he had a breakout year last year where you had to wonder, can he keep this up? So he was having a great year. Great year. All right. Pass rush wise, Dio was just as good. He actually came away, according to PFF, with 12 sacks. So he can come up in there. Now, is he more of a liability in the run game? Yes, which makes absolutely no sense. The whole reason you have a guy like Dio is his body, his frame, everything is designed to be a guy that should be able to set the edge as a run defender. All right? And maybe as he continues to get older, maybe as he goes into his 4th year in the NFL, that is the thing that he works on. All right? Because 2 years ago, he actually was a good run defender. At 6'6", almost 290 pounds, he should be able to hold off a long offensive tackle in order to set the edge on run defense. That's what he should be able to do. So I think that can be an absolute good replacement coming in, and you'll be able to see him play 700 snaps. And I think that is absolutely going to help. But then you have to remember that you have just this player that you have drafted that if he was not like struggling with a neck injury, he was a top 5, top 10 pick in any other, and even in this draft, all right, which was one of the weirdest drafts ever. I think, was he the first defensive player taken at 15? I think he might have been. You got a top 5, top 10 talent at pick number 15. You did. And it's not just his play. We're going to talk about his play in a second. It's his athleticism. All right. And this basically now just means, all right, he's got to step up. I think a lot of people thought, like, is he too small? Is he athletic enough? He had a 9.19 RAS. All right. The 40-yard dash, I don't know how much it matters, but what it tells you is that there's a lot of burst in there. He has good explosion, which is not as important. We don't get agility testing, but the height is there. The arm length isn't great. It's not bad. All right, it's just not bad. And if you talk to the other guy who does videos on this channel with me, Chris, all right, he loves him just because he's Samoan, right? Like, he's like, they're strong, built different. That's all he talks about. It's hilarious. So we look at these players, and all of a sudden we have to realize, like, all right, this is impressive. This is impressive. And then you have a guy like Kwity Paye. All right, he came out of Michigan. He was the running mate with Aiden Hutchinson. And he is a player that flat out is going to play well. You're going to expect him to be a great pass rusher, but when you watch him play, all of a sudden you realize, actually, he might be as good of a run stopper or even better at stopping the run as he is at the pass. So you can put him on one side, and then you can let Latu just go for it on the other side. It is a phenomenal 1-2-3 punch that the Colts still have. Would it have been nice for them to have the 4th player to have some of that veteran presence? Absolutely. Of course it would be nice. But there's no team that was more insulated. I don't think this is going to affect your starting lineup really at all, because I think guys like Paye are just as good as Ebukam. I do. I really do believe that. What it's going to affect is the gap between your 3rd and 4th defensive end. So it's going to affect you on, 10 plays a game when you have to have that 4th defensive end in there. It's going to not allow you to have the NASCAR package in as much on obvious passing downs because guys are going to be more shot. So it will affect you, but not as much as you think, and it will give the opportunity to a rookie and to some younger vets to take the next step. All right, thanks for watching. For more Colts stuff, hit the like and subscribe button. We love talking football. That's what we do on this channel. We are Lions fans. We don't hide that or anything about that, but we love the NFL and want to talk about every story under the sun, both with some of the teams that get a lot of national coverage and some that don't, and hopefully the in-depth coverage is good for you. So if you want more of that, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.